seat. You are applying for the, oh gosh, the acronym is long, the Marine Biomedicine and Environmental Sciences Summer Undergraduate Research Program at MUSC Charleston, South Carolina.
That's correct.
I believe we abbreviate it as the MBESSURP program, which is completely impossible to pronounce. So anyway, we'll just call it the Marine Biomedicine blah, blah, blah research program. Okay? So, you're a marine science major.
That is correct. I'm a sophomore at Jacksonville University.
Okay. What attracted you to our internship? Because I see that your permanent address is in Michigan.
That's correct. Well, since I am from Michigan, obviously there's not many marine science opportunities around. There's the Great Lakes, but
they're not salty.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm looking towards the marine environment.
Okay.
So I do have a friend that lives in South Carolina, so I'd be very close to him. Also, just trying to branch out, get away from home, be able to expand my horizons would be a very good place to do in Charleston.
Okay. All right. It's a nice place.
Yeah.
It's a pretty city.
I've never actually been there. I've driven past it. But not.
Yeah, on the interstate.
Yes.
See, it's how a lot of people feel about Jacksonville. No, Charleston's a beautiful city. Lots of history there. Okay. So, this is an interesting internship because it's really marine biomedicine and environmental sciences. You're a marine science. Do you have a preference of the marine biomedicine or the environmental science, or tell me what you're thinking?
I have a little bit of two sides right now.
Okay.
Recently, I've been leaning away from going to biological oceanography because I really like to study between the interaction between the living and the non-living parts, the interaction within ecosystems.
Okay.
Recently, I've been taking marine mammal biology at Jacksonville University, and we've been studying a lot of cetaceans and diseases, zoonotic diseases,
right,
things along that line, which can also correlate with ocean conditions and how humans impact those conditions. So I've been leaning a little bit towards marine mammal vet, and I'm going to try and go that route more so from now on.
So I assume that you've been talking a lot about, since you're taking the course now?
Yes.
Okay. So you've probably been talking about the unusual mortality event that's occurred up and down the East Coast.
That is correct.
And it's viral related.
Yep.
Is that correct? Yeah,
yes.
That's what I heard. It's been pretty outstanding. I mean, the number of dead dolphins washing up on shores all up and down the East Coast.
Right.
It's amazing. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's an open area for study. Really open area for study. Although it's also going to be quite competitive.
Correct.
So what will you do if you don't get to do that? What's plan B?
Plan B would probably be to go for a PhD. I do like the teaching aspect. I've enjoyed a lot of my courses here, and a lot of professors on campus are very involved in research and the students' ability to move up. So I think a PhD and a teaching position would definitely be in the cards.
Okay. Would you go to a smaller, sort of liberal arts kind of campus, very similar to Jacksonville University, or would
teaching,
you?
Or,
yeah.
I think I would keep it close. I do like the setting, how it's very involved with the students. I have a bunch of friends who go to bigger schools, and they're just one in a number. And I think that personal relationship is definitely a key aspect of education.
Is that why you picked Jacksonville University?
That is one of the reasons. My brother went to a small school as well. So.
Where did your brother go?
University of Detroit Mercy.
Okay, all right. What do you? Oh, well, you sort of answered me. What do you want to be doing in 10 years? So I see also. Let's see. I have this highlighted in here. You've done some, or you said in here, harmful algal blooms are interesting to me. Why?
Well, right now in marine mammal biology, we've been studying the red tides in Florida, and that also has something to do with the Karenia brevis, the brevitoxins. So I think it's really interesting in seeing how elements can bioaccumulate through the different trophic levels, and seeing the impacts where you don't see them in humans, where you can see them in dolphins or other cetaceans or other mammals. So I think that's a really interesting discrepancy.
Okay. A lot of times these toxic algal blooms will also be bioaccumulated in species that they don't affect.
Correct.
For instance, and then they'll affect the next species up the food chain.
Right. An example of that, the brevetoxin we've been talking about, Carenia brevis, oftentimes it's exhibited in the viscera of the fish.
Right.
So humans, we only eat the meat, so it won't come to be a problem for humans, versus the dolphin consumes the whole fish, therefore it's by accumulating there, and it doesn't show up
Right.
on our scales.
But it also doesn't affect the fish.
Correct.
You know, they seem to be dealing with it just fine.
Right.
Or oysters, or other shellfish, which can accumulate it, and then that's why we close shellfish,
Correct.
because it would affect us, because we eat the whole thing. But it doesn't affect them. So it might be interesting to find out why some of those species are not affected by the toxins. Even though they're much smaller, you might expect a smaller dose would affect them.
Right.
So another potential avenue of research. So toxic algal blooms seem to be a lot in the news lately. They're obviously affecting things that people are concerned about, you know, dolphins, but you also get fish kills periodically. I think there was an algal bloom in the St. Johns River last year that was over the summer and into the fall that made the news quite a bit. What do they call it? The green monster, I think is what they called it. How are you interested in being involved in the research that looks at how these things start and how they stop, or any of that sort of stuff? The environmental aspect of them.
I think it would be very interesting to me to see what causes these sudden abrupt changes, because as you can tell, it doesn't really come over time. It's kind of just all of a sudden you have this giant problem. You have to be able to deal with it. So learning how to counter the effects of that instant change would definitely be something I'd be interested in, and it would also be very helpful in many situations.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things is, you know, getting into veterinary school is very competitive. It's actually more competitive than medical school.
Right.
Even getting into a PhD program is fairly competitive. So there may be, you know, maybe there'll be a time where you aren't in any of those programs, or even one in a PhD program. What would you research? And so these are the kinds of things that they think about. Have you had any other research experience?
I haven't had any research experience in botany at Jacksonville University.
Okay.
I did do we worked with growing plants and learning what kinds of, or mixing fertilizers, mixing soils to create the best product. So that's about the closest thing that I've done.
Okay.
I found that very interesting because I like the hands-on work.
So that was as part of class.
Correct.
Not so surprising, you're a sophomore, is that correct? Yeah. Sophomores usually don't have much research experience, but I'm just checking. Okay. Why do you think research experience is important? I mean, if you want to go into vet school, or even if you wanted to go to medical school, why should undergraduate students have research experience?
I think undergraduate research really opens up the opportunities to be able to think open-mindedly. You have to be able to look beyond the problem for causes that might not necessarily be pronounced. You have to look in the key features and the clues that's given to you. So it allows you to definitely open up your perspective and be able to see within. Also, research, it allows you to work with colleagues and other students, work in the team setting, which is always important in pretty much every career. And allows you to work with somebody who's a professional, such different doctors, have the ability to establish connections for you and lay out the groundwork for your education.
Okay, all right. Let's see. Just double check and make sure I covered all the things that I had on that list. You've got lifeguarding experience. Actually, quite a bit of lifeguarding experience, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's correct.
But you've also been a pet salesman.
That is correct. I worked at,
Go ahead.
it's called Moby Dick's Pet Store. It's in Waterford, Michigan. We don't sell whales. So.
That's good to know.
Yes.
I would be upset if you sold whales.
Correct. So we actually specialize in marine and freshwater fish. We have small animals, reptiles, snakes, birds, other small creatures. But when I worked there, I did a lot of the cleaning and maintenance first because I was an intern in high school. So I did cleaning and maintenance on tanks, just kind of scrubbing algae. But through that, I learned to know the interactions between the different species, what you can put in which tanks. I ended up taking care of about 850 to 250 gallon saltwater systems, all with the little separate containers for each fish.
Right.
Anything from fish to eels to corals to inverts. So it really expanded my horizons and allowed me to learn different things about what I'd be going into down here.
Very cool. Very cool. What do you like better, fish or invertebrates?
Definitely like fish. Inverts they're interesting to me, but I don't think I could see myself working with them on a daily basis.
Why do you like the fish better? I'm just curious.
I think they're just somewhat charismatic to me. Looking at an invertebrate, you don't say, oh, that's the prettiest thing I've ever seen, or look how gracefully it swims.
I think it's the movement.
Yes.
That's my guess.
And I like scuba diving. I scuba dive a lot, so
There are lots of inverts when scuba diving. That's what the
I
whole
like
coral
seeing
reef
them,
is.
yes.
Yeah.
And then seeing how the fish interact with that is
Okay.
very interesting.
Yeah, I think it's like the difference between animals and plants. Most people gravitate towards animals, A, because they have eyes, and B, because they move on a scale when we can react with it. Okay. If you had to choose one way to describe yourself, would you describe yourself as a big picture person or a detail-oriented person?
I would probably say a big picture person.
Okay.
I like to look for the outcome and how what I'm doing is going to impact the future for me or future for other people. Being very detail-oriented, I think, kind of construes your vision from what's going on outside of what you're doing. So it doesn't really expand your horizons.
Okay, so how does that affect how you work on projects, homework, schoolwork, or any of that sort of stuff?
While working, I do like to work as a team. I like to work with other people and see the different ways that they think and approach a task. I believe the detail-oriented side kind of takes away and you're unable to interact. So that's why I like being more open-minded. So areas where you are working in that environment, that you're allowed to go beyond and not just look at the specific picture, it helps in all areas, not just the subject you're studying or the homework assignment. You're able to see what the purpose is behind it.
Okay, all right. If you're given a task that requires that dogged attention to detail, keeping track of particular data, since you are a big picture person, how do you make yourself do the little task?
Well, I definitely set goals for myself.
Okay.
I recently purchased an agenda to keep me on track. I haven't had one for a long time. So keeping myself on task with stuff such as data collection, I really just have to find something in it that's interesting towards me and realize that this data collection will help the bigger picture. It'll help the study that I'm more interested in besides just the data part.
Okay, all right. What questions do you have for me?
I was actually wondering if there is some sort of research that you or a colleague of yours in this internship was looking to do somewhere down in Florida that I could start with you and possibly be able to transfer down to school and continue.
I don't know. It's entirely possible that there may be a spin-off project. I can't think of one right off the top of my head, but there are projects that go on all the time that have potential for that. I personally don't have one, and I don't know of anybody that has a spin-off project or a project that has a connection in Florida right at the moment. You know, and certainly during the internship itself, you would certainly be in Charleston, but that's not to say that something wouldn't come up in the future. Okay? What will you do if you don't get this internship?
If I don't, as you can see by my resume, I do have connections back home for lifeguarding. I have also begun applying and trying to look for just volunteer opportunities at vets and animal shelters just to get my foot in the door and get some hours, which I know schools look for.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, if you're really serious about being going to vet school, that's probably not a bad thing to do. Even if it's a veterinary practice that doesn't deal with standard pets, that deals with other kinds of animals, even farm animals, it's not a bad idea to get some practice. Okay, well, good. Nice to know that you have a backup plan. Not that you won't get the internship, but we have a lot of people to interview. So,
Great.
thank you
That's
very
good.
much.
Thank you.